Welcome back to The Price of Business. I am your host, Kevin Price, talking to you about you and your business. Talking to Steve Beaman with the Society for the Advancement of Financial Education, a group that I'm passionately involved in, too. We got great events coming up, late summer, early fall, and looking forward to that. But also what we like to do is talk about what's happening on the political front, and we'll spend some time exploring that right now. Tell me a little bit, Steve, about, first of all, is there any area in the Obama administration that you can give props to? How's that for a tough one?
Yeah, I'm going department by department through my mind.
Yeah, I understand. I did the exact same thing.
You know, it's tough for me to give kudos to any of them at this point. I mean, if you go through state, I'm certainly not happy with how they've handled our foreign situation. Russia and China are marching again. If you look at Treasury, I guess I could look at Treasury as a reactive organization and say, you know what, all things considered, they've been managing to fund the debt. I mean, so you could say Tim's done his job. Attorney General's office, clearly not. Homeland Security, I'm specious of.
So like on the Treasury deal, you're giving them props only for being busy, but not necessarily doing good things.
Well, it's you give somebody a bad assignment and say, we want you to complete a negative assignment, and Tim's done that. So I guess I give him some kudos for that. I wouldn't want to be on the phone every week with Bernanke saying, hey, loan me money.
Yeah.
But again, you just go down. The Department of Education, a bomb. Commerce, they haven't done anything. In fact, they've been negative when you look at the NLRB rulings that they support and all that type of thing. I mean, agriculture, they typically don't do a lot. I mean, their programs at the core level, if you talk to the farmers, some of them are real good, but the way they throw money around in the USDA and the food stamp programs, you can't really say kudos to them.
Right.
So really, department by department, I think we need a restructuring. And, you know, it gets down to the core of this whole IRS thing in the Treasury. And, you know, the fact of the matter is we can't have government running afoul, and we've got that across the board.
Yeah. So Bernanke is now post-toast, and he's history. So who do you see potentially taking his place?
Well, there's a slate right now of about 6 candidates. Alan Blinder from Princeton, other people. I think what we're going to find is that no matter who it is, it's going to be a soft money person who will likely want to continue the monetary expansion that we've seen. We're not going to get a Paul Volcker who comes in and says, look, you know, time to rein in the dollar. So I think we can look for the foreseeable future at continued weak dollar policies. That may feel good to people. That's why I got back to my earlier comments that people don't feel the pain yet. The concept of a weak dollar doesn't really hit you until the musical chairs ends. And we're not there yet, and I think the question is, when will the musical chairs game end? And many of us in finance are trying to figure that out and saying, okay, you don't want to be around when that happens.
Yeah, absolutely. And, yeah, it's getting more and more frightening. A lot of speculation going on in the financial sectors, a lot of volatility in recent weeks. And I guess that has a lot to do with the buzz in the language we're hearing these days. True?
It has a lot. The power center has moved to the Fed, and people are looking right now what the Fed's policy will be. I don't think most folks, Kevin, realize it, but when the Federal Reserve is buying $85 billion a month of U.S. Treasury debt, that means, in effect, they are buying all of the debt coming out of Washington. All of it. I mean, think about it. $85 billion a month translates into a little over $1 trillion. Well, that's about how much our deficit is right now.
Yeah, man, that's pretty frightening when you think about that.
It really is when you put it in that perspective. And it makes you realize that when the Fed backs down, in order to generate interest from outside investors, rates will go up.
Yeah. Absolutely, absolutely. You know, I've been seeing a lot of articles by even some more mainstream publications that have questioned U.S. support of Arab Spring movements around the country because look at the results, Egypt being an example. What do you think about that? Could this end up creating a paradigm shift in foreign policy?
Kevin, it makes me wish you and I had all day to talk and to talk with our listeners out there. The fact of the matter is the Arab Spring, which was an uncontrolled, chaotic transition of power, has translated now into more chaos. We took Egypt from Mubarak, who was not necessarily a nice guy, and I'm not going to say he was the most freedom-loving person that ever existed, but he held the society together and he kept it controlled. We now have it opened up with Morsi, and we've got riots and revolution in the air. I think the military by now, if not today or within the next couple of days, is going to start getting heavily involved there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I think we've seen more of that since last week. So we've got a foreign policy of weakness, of accommodation, of appeasement, And it hasn't worked in history. It's not going to work now. And that's going back to your earlier question. I cannot give our State Department kudos. I certainly cannot give the President kudos. I think he has grossly mismanaged our foreign policy, and we see that in Russia and China doing new military exercises.
Yeah, no question about it. Talking to Steve Beaman, he's with the Society for the Advancement of Financial Education, and although that has a website, I always like to just encourage people to go to the easier to remember, for me at least, stevebeamangroup.org. Check that out, and we're going to be posting some information, I'm sure, on that page of our events coming up here soon in the summer and the fall. Looking forward to that, and for you to be able to chat with the audience here face to face. That'll be cool. Talk a little bit about, the going forward, in terms of, the Obama's policy when it comes to, the Fed and monetary policy, which is just a huge amount of concern. What do you explain the strange volatility of how somehow gold and, precious metals are actually going the same direction as stock when historically they would always go in opposite directions? What's up with that?
Yeah, these are obviously issues folks need to be aware of. It's where the rubber meets the road. If you look specifically at that question of gold runs up based on fear and uncertainty. Sometimes that builds a bubble. It does not indicate it's not in a long-term uptrend, but it does indicate that for the near term it's gotten ahead of itself, and I think that's what we saw. Fundamentally, we know the dollar is devaluing every single day. You see that in gas prices most specifically. But as the future goes and as they continue this weak money policy, I do think that the commodities are a place that people want to be. I don't suggest you overly commit to it. I've said to people for a long time, I think 10 to 15, maybe up to 20% of your portfolio is in commodity-type investments. But commodities don't just mean gold. They mean silver and oil and corn crops and soybean crops, things like that. So I think people can make money on this, but they have to be well aware of what they're doing in order to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. And so this is one more reason why you need to get financially educated, why you need a Society for the Advancement of Financial Education.
Absolutely, and I think it touches the small business world where we know these people are passionate about their product or service, but they may not be intimately familiar with balance sheets and income statements and cash flow statements. We want to help not just that business person, but also individuals understand that. It's not been possible that I sit down with a family and can't find $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 a year that they're just throwing away and they don't even know it.
Yep.
We can get them to put that money aside and begin working with it. They find that within a period of time they can build a nice little nest egg, and that's what success and prosperity is all about, especially with the longer life expectancies you and I are looking at.
Yep, there you go. Steve Beaman with the Society for the Advancement of Financial Education right here on The Price of Business, and always enjoy our time together. We want to encourage you to check him out over there at stevebeamangroup.org. That's a great place to go to find out what's happening next, what's going on, and how you can get involved with it. One of the imperatives, there's several imperatives why people need to get involved. Not only is it for your own personal empowerment and education and information, but also because numbers speak, and the more people we have involved with the society, the more of an impact and more people in Washington and other levels of government will take notice. True?
That is exactly true, Kevin. We're going to try to change the dialogue in this country. It's not a liberal or progressive or conservative or constitutional approach. It's a common sense approach to say, let's get your financial house in order. Let's teach you how this stuff works, so that wide swath of middle America can look at government spending and wake up to it and say, wait a minute, this is not sustainable.
Yep, absolutely.
At the individual level, it's certainly not at the government level.
Thanks so much for being with us. Always a lot of fun. Always enjoy our time together. Look forward to talking to you again soon.
Thank you, Kevin. Have a wonderful week ahead, and I look forward to seeing you and your guests on next Monday's program.
There you go. I'm Kevin Price. You're listening to The Price of Business. More after this.